Own Way, the podcast with me, your host, Kori McClurg.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Get Out of Your Own Way, the podcast. I'm Kori McClurg, author of the book, Get Out of Your Own Way. So, today I want to talk about authenticity and finding your authentic self, your true self, who you are kind of deep down without all the other BS, right? And the reason I want to talk about that is if it's been on my mind lately how health, wellness, nutrition, exercise, why any of that matters. And I think what I've arrived at is that it matters because it is through those avenues that we get to our authentic self, particularly if we've not been our real selves, if we have struggled in that way, if we have, if our whole existence, right, has been out of alignment with that. And probably a manifestation of us being out of alignment with that is poor health. We are overweight, we drink a lot, we use food like a drug. We perhaps engage in other kind of addictive activities. And so one of the ways that we try to medicate or numb that feeling of being out of alignment is with all these other things, and they contribute to our poor health. And so, particularly as I'm, not getting any younger, and I find that other people are in a similar, place in life where that's not acceptable to us anymore. That not living our own lives isn't acceptable to us anymore. And so, and I think that's when it starts feeling less like being healthy or losing weight or whatever. That feels less like we should do it. And it just starts feeling more like this is the way that I get to be my truest self, is that when I'm able to use my body in the ways that I want to use it, when I'm able to spend my time on the things that I want to spend my time on instead of worrying about my health or going to doctor's appointments or whatever. I talk about this in my book in a little bit different way. I talk about it as far as being able to unleash your power on the world when you don't have to spend so much time and energy managing, right, your body, your health overall, whether that's your mental health or the health below your neck. And of course, and I think that is true, but I think that even for a lot of us, even feeling like unleashing your power, quote unquote, is like that. Even that's a far bridge, right? Because we don't even feel in touch with what we are, who we are. We'd feel so out of place, out of just in so much discomfort day to day, that the thought of unleashing our power, that is a whole other thing that feels like more pressure. And I think the thing that I missed saying out loud is that there's this step, right? There's this tier that we arrive at that we feel, we feel good with ourselves. We feel like, I'm able to exist in this world without demonstrating my worth. I exist in this world without feeling like I'm not allowed to take up space. And really, I think it's only once we get to that place that then it seems attainable to like unleash our power, to really manifest what might be kind of a small flame in our gut. And I've really thought more about how our health and wellness allows us to go down that path of authenticity and sort of the higher, on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, those upper levels that until we have attained, or perhaps the method by which, the path by which we achieve those higher tiers, if you will, is through this ability, through this way of feeling like I'm worth putting healthy food in my body. I am worth getting activity today. I'm worth spending time, money, effort on my mental health. I'm worth spending 20 minutes meditating today. I'm worth spending time journaling today, because those things are contributing to me being myself, me feeling comfortable with myself, me feeling like I'm just okay in this world. And I don't think we have one without the other. I really don't think that somebody who's a junk food addict and using that to numb out and mask feelings, and as a result, they're severely overweight. I'm not sure that they feel like, they're really living their truest self. I think that we tell ourselves things like, oh, I'm just like we over-identify with these things that are hurting us because that makes us feel better. That helps us resolve this cognitive dissonance. But I think, and having been on both sides of this, trust me, people, trust me, I don't think that we're being our truest self when we're on the other side of that, when we're on the side where we are not healthy. We're not allowing ourselves to be our truest self. And don't get me wrong, that shit's hard. It is so hard. And there's all kinds of things. And by no means am I saying like that because somebody is, in shape and svelte, and they have perfect cholesterol, that they are, living in their most authentic, truest self. I know many that are not, right? But I do think that to get to our most authentic, our truest selves, it is a necessary condition to be treating ourselves well, and by no means does that mean that you're, lifting heavy weights and doing 100 burpees every day to get to your truest self. But I think that some kind of, ongoing, having movement as a practice does lead to that. It is a condition to living as our truest self. And I thought about this a lot because I've struggled over the years with um just not feeling great in my body sometimes, even even after I lost some weight, and still not feeling great with my body. And for a long time I would, I'd kind of shame myself for not feeling good in my body, like, oh, I'm letting the unrealistic beauty standards of society, get me down. And and for sure there's been a lot of that over, times in my life. I can remember being a teenager and, like, having a picture of this really super thin girl up as like my motivation. But I think at this point in my life, it's not really about trying to adhere to some beauty standard. It's really about how I feel when, I'm carrying 5 pounds more than I want to, because I know that, I don't feel the same. And scientifically, there's a lot of reasons for that. Like, adipose tissue is not inert. It does contribute to additional hormone creation in your body. So these things are not without impact. And also for me, I know that when if I'm carrying around those 5 pounds, that was a result of some activity that wasn't in alignment with who I am, or at least who I want to be. It's inconsistent with my values. I was probably eating some processed food, high calorically dense processed food, that might have been a whole lot better than some other stuff, but it still feels inconsistent with my values. I was doing that for other reasons than being consistent with my own values. And so that also makes me feel ick about it, like, oh, I have this visual reminder of the ways in which I've been using food for other things than fuel. And so again, it comes, that's not the real me. That's not the true me. That's not the authentic me to be doing that, to using substances to try to numb some other discomfort. And I'll tell you, at least for me, that is one of the hardest freaking things ever in my life to contend with, is to understand, like, to feel my feelings, to understand them, to try to make sense of them, to even tie an event or what's going on in my life with the discomfort that I'm feeling. I have spent so many years purposefully trying to disconnect from that. And so now to get that back, I have a friend that I'm on another podcast with, and she is so good at that. She's so good at seeing, like, oh, I have, this other stuff in my life, and I know that's making me uncomfortable. And so I went and, ate half a pie or whatever it was, or ate a bunch of chocolate, whatever, that is. And she's so good at seeing that, like, through line. I, on the other hand, often don't even recognize how much stress something is giving me until it's gone, until it's over. And then I feel the, like, unburdening of it. But that's, again, I've trained myself for so long to do that, to be disassociated from my feelings and from my body. that it's just taken time for me to like unwind that, and try to connect those things together is a whole new learning process. But again, all of that is really just in service of, me wanting to be better at that is just in service of me working to be a better me, working to be the me that feels true to me, that feels comfortable to me. Not because I should, be better, do better, whatever. It's just because I want to feel good in this meat sack. I want to feel good, in my brain. I want to get out of my own way. I want to get out of the way of what I think is really in there, of what I really am and what I really can, bring to the world. And when I'm doing all this other crap to mask how I feel, then, and I'm not living in real alignment with, like the healthiest me, then, I know that I'm getting in my own way. I'm sure there'll be more thoughts on this. This is really something, and I've been thinking a lot about is, how do we just be us, right? How do we just be unapologetically our most truest selves and let that come out? And I think one of the ways that we do that is through these practices of all the facets of health and wellness, and through the practice of not letting ourselves get in these addictive cycles with these things from the modern environment that are, making us sick. I think there's more to explore there, and I hope that gives you some things to think about. I'll talk to you later.